Thank you. All right, I want to start with Dr. Twenge and Ms. Churkin. A lot of parents feel helpless right now. They're deeply concerned, how do I keep my kids safe online? And they don't know how to. They don't know what to do. And my first question is simple. What advice would you give a parent who's scared about their child, about their teenager, and what common sense steps can parents take to keep their kids safer? Dr. Twenge, why don't we start with you?
So I completely agree. Parents are in a really difficult position these days, but I also strongly believe that as parents we shouldn't give up. And I have 3 teenage kids myself, so I'm living this every day. So first, delay giving that smartphone as long as you possibly can. If you feel like they need a phone, give them a flip phone, give them a phone designed for kids that doesn't have internet or social media or those AI companion apps. Delay them getting social media for as long as possible. So what I hear really often is, then my kid will be the only one, and they tell me they have to be on social media to have friends at all. That's a complete myth. Kids have so many other ways they can communicate with each other online. They can FaceTime, they can text, they can call, they can even better go over to each other's houses. My 19-year-old said to me recently, this is very meaningful and correct. She said, look, if there is someone who will not communicate with you unless it's through a specific social media platform, that person is not actually your friend. You can find other ways to do this. So we do have to hold the line as parents. It is not easy, and I know that myself, but we can take those steps to keep our kids off social media until at least 16, if not 18, and just put off that smartphone as long as possible.
Ms. Churkin?
My approach is what I call tech intentional, and there's 3 parts to this. Later is better, less is more, relationships and skills before screens. I'm also a parent of 2 teens who are here today to hear this, and I will tell you that parenting in the digital age is the hardest thing I've ever done, and I taught 7th grade for 12 years. So I really want to extend my sincere empathy for parents struggling. I often say this isn't our fault, but it is our responsibility to do something, and we are learning about what's good and what's not good when it comes to screens in children. So when we know better, we need to do better. And to that point, I really believe that parents have an opportunity to be the role models for their children as well. We talk a lot about how this is children's use, the way it's impacting children, but adults are terrible users as well. It doesn't take much to look around and see people on their phones, totally distracted ourselves. So how we behave is how our children will behave. And I really also cannot emphasize enough the importance of collective action, that being that first parent to say, wait a minute, I'm gonna delay, and then finding a second and a third parent to join you makes this effort a lot easier. So we just need to get to a tipping point. But to all the parents out there who are struggling, you're not alone. This is a pretty universal problem. Thank you.
And I have to admit, I find it comforting hearing that both of you are struggling. I am the father of 2 teenage girls, and I think Middle East peace is easier than raising teenagers. And I will say it's striking in the Senate. Look, the Senate is a place where you have people from very different generations, but in my experience, in particular, the senators who are on the younger side of things, who are in their 40s and 50s and have kids at home that are either adolescents or teenagers, are experiencing these same struggles, these same panic, this same, how do I keep all of these forces that want to tear my children apart? How do I protect them from this? Australia enacted a ban on social media for those under age 16. This is a yes or no question for everyone. Should the United States consider a similar policy of restricting children from using social media until a certain age?
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
Yes.
As you know, Senator Schatz and I have introduced the Kids Off Social Media Act, COSMA, which would ban children under 13 from social media and would also prohibit algorithmic boosting for teenagers under 17. It would also get cell phones out of the classroom by blocking social media in most public schools. I'm glad to see that this committee moved COSMA out of committee by an overwhelming bipartisan vote. For each of the witnesses, do you agree that COSMA lays the groundwork to protect children from excessive screen use?
I think it does. I think it's meaningful progress. I would want to raise that minimum age for social media to 16, but it is a great, great start.
Absolutely, step one. Yep.
I agree. It's a start, and I would raise the minimum age to 18.
I think the pros are that it enforces under 13 and addresses the feed, which I think is a critical mechanism. I'm worried that it doesn't cover video games or other platforms, and it doesn't have duty of care measures.
Well, and for what it's worth, I'd love to raise the age. I'd love to make it stronger. One of the things to pass legislation is you have to find bipartisan agreement and compromise, and that means you don't necessarily get everything you want. Final question. Dr. Twenge, do you think the Edtech devices that are being used by our kids, do they come with sufficient guardrails, filters, or blockers to make sure that they're focused on education?
They do not.
And so what should be different?
We need better blocks. I think IT departments, particularly at public schools, are overwhelmed and underfunded and just have not, unfortunately, done a good job blocking streaming services, social media, pornography, and so on from these school-issued devices, which have become entertainment devices instead of what they should be, which is educational devices.
Yeah. Thank you.